Aaron, I'd love for you to just quickly introduce yourself and give us a little bit of some background as to how you came up with content only.
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. It's great to be here, and hello, everybody. So my name's Aaron Witnish, and we have an agency called Content Only. Hopefully the name gives it away. We specialize in content creation, and over many years I've been in marketing, 14 years to be exact. One of the areas that we found that personally all businesses, anyone we work with, would often fall down in is content creation, because there are all these variables, all these moving parts, all this overwhelm, all this frustration, and so many things can go wrong, and then you have to show up and actually do it. So it took 14 years to stumble across, I guess you call it a system that has simplified the ability to create content. And usually for most people that run this system, it takes between 30 and 60 minutes a month. And from that, you can generate 30 days worth of video content for your social media, and also written content from that same session as well. So through trial and error and the frustration of people not getting us what we needed, one day I'll give you the story of how we actually got the system. I was talking to one of my clients who is a bricklayer down in Melbourne, and we were on a meeting just like this on Zoom. And he said, I want to do some videos. And in my head, I'm going, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. And I said, what do you want to achieve with the videos? And Mark said, I want to build my brand up inside the local construction industry. I said, oh, that's a good idea. And so I said, let's just try something out. And I said, I'm just going to start asking you questions, and we're just having a chat. So Mark's very good at holding a conversation, like most of us are. And I said, so how did your company Brickit get started? What do you do differently to other bricklayers? How do you help builders create more value for their clients? And he just rattled off these beautiful responses. And after 20 minutes, we stopped recording. I sent it to my editors and I said, just cut any clips that you think we could use as content on social media. And the next day I got a folder back, and there was roughly 12 clips in there. And that's when I realized that using a conversational approach to creating video and content gets people out of their head. They're not thinking about what they're saying. They're just chatting to someone else, and they show up this most natural version of themselves. So that's the evolution into finding a content strategy that's a bit of a game changer for business owners. So that's the backstory.
Awesome. Thank you. And we've got a few business owners here. I'd like if you could also pop it in the comments. What has been the biggest challenge for you in creating content, in particular video content? If you want to either unmute or pop it in the chat, that's absolutely fine. I can also share as well. I know when I started doing content to begin with, very early on, I had a lot of hesitation because I thought I was going to sound like a mumbling idiot, and I probably still do, but I think less of that and more around how can I bring value. So that was one of the big stumbling blocks, like, I'm going to sound funny, I'm going to look funny. So that was one thing. Another thing was I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to say. I knew that I had all this knowledge and all this experience and expertise to share, but you get this paralysis analysis of where do I start? What do I share? Is this going to be interesting or not? And then the third one was around how do I find, what is the how do I find content, or what sort of content am I going to share that's going to be engaging? Right? It's one thing to just throw content out there. It's another thing to actually get engagement that converts into leads, because ultimately that's what we're doing this for. It's marketing to generate leads, to create awareness, and so on. So I'm going to have a look in the messages. Getting in front of the camera comfortably. Yeah. Who's uncomfortable in front of the camera? Who's really comfortable in front of the camera? Steve's comfortable. So Steve, you're one of, I reckon you're 1 out of 10. Would you say? But Aaron, the number of people that you've worked with, what percentage of them are really comfortable in front of the camera?
Out of all the clients I've ever worked with, I'd say only 3 have ever been very comfortable in front of the camera. Generally speaking, everyone is petrified. They're self-conscious. They're in their heads. They're worried about everything. And that's the very natural response to being on camera and creating content. So that's how you're feeling about it. Just know that's extremely normal and the way nearly every business owner feels.
And so how do you overcome that? And why do you think people feel, I guess, I guess the main thing is, how do you overcome that with working with the system that you've got, Aaron?
Well, the reality is, if you put yourself on video, you're exposed. So someone can see your face, they can hear your voice, and if you post it online, people can comment on it, they can judge it. So you're very vulnerable when you make that move. So I get it. And most of us we are self-conscious about how we look, what's the quality of our videos like, are we saying the right thing, what are other people thinking about us? So these are all the belief systems that we're tackling when we step out. The way that we've ultimately been able to solve this is by making it feel like you're not on camera. Because if you know you're on camera, you're going to be in your head. You're going to know you're filming. So if you're in your head, you're going to be doing double takes, second guessing yourself, showing up as a less natural and less authentic version of yourself. So what we've learned is people are the most authentic versions of themselves when they're chatting to someone else. So imagine you're having a coffee at a cafe with a colleague, with a team member, with a client. You're not thinking about what's going on. You're just chatting away and you're being yourself, just like we're doing now. I'm chatting to Cheryl, I'm chatting to all of you. I'm not even aware that we're recording, even though we are. So this is actually how you bypass the idea that you're on camera. And the conversations are the game changers. So to speak to a point that you raised, Cheryl, about what to say, which is a problem we'll solve today, if you've got a list of great questions that can solve problems for your target audience, and you're sitting there with someone that you have a great rapport with, and you just use those questions as stepping off points, and you just record that conversation, you'll find that you're a very natural version of yourself. You add the most value, and about 5 minutes into that conversation, you'll forget the camera's rolling, and that's how you're going to get this really authentic content that separates you from a lot of people in the marketplace.
Awesome. Okay, Aaron, and I think this is the part, and a few people have shared, I guess, some of their challenges and so on. And I think having you go through how the system works is going to address quite a few of this. So I'm going to hand it over to you now and give you the mic. What Aaron is going to go through is really almost a step-by-step system that you can either do it yourself, or you can have someone like Aaron assist. And then the second part is, if we'll talk about also if you've got your own marketing assistant, how they can assist you also. So Aaron, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great. So like anyone, what do you say? Okay, I'm going to shoot some content. We get to the camera, we get to the conversation, what do you even talk about? And that's the first major hurdle. So you can have the best intention in the world, but everyone hits this stumbling block, including me. And solving this particular problem is arguably as important as all the other stuff. So there's this little feature that, oddly enough, it took me 14 years to find this. And when I found it, it was so obvious and I couldn't believe it, but it is a game changer, regardless of what type of business you have, what industry you're in. And if you go to Google, which I'm sure we've all done before, and you take a search that's a topic in your target market. So I know that, Cheryl, that you have a lot of people that are in the property space. So you might put in interest rates, you might put in Melbourne property market, where I'm coming to you from, you might put in housing prices as an example. And if you put that search into Google, you'll get a list of results, which we all know. But if you scroll down that search, there's a section that most people don't know about, which is called People Also Ask. And in that section, you'll have questions. And these are all the questions and queries that your target audience are typing into searches. So if you see those questions, you put the ones to the side that you feel like you can add value to. Then you click the down arrow and you'll get more questions. You click the down arrow and you'll get more questions. So you can pick 5 or 6 topics that you can educate your target market on. And the reason why we want to do that is you're going to find it a lot easier to get clients if you're solving their problems up front. So if you're creating goodwill in advance and they feel like they've already learned something, they've already gotten value, they've got access to information that someone else might charge them for, their trust transference goes through the roof. And in a day and age where we have to have a lot more touch points, there's a lot more skepticism with synthetic content, scams, and people phishing data and that sort of thing. When someone has shown up and solved their problems for free through content, all of a sudden it removes a lot of these objections and fears that people have around doing business with you. So that people also ask section on Google is your friend anytime you're not sure what to talk about. Now, there's also a strategy to put it on steroids. So that's the free version. You've got that on your phone. You can use that anytime, any topic you want to search on Google. There's a tool that we use called vidIQ. And this is particularly valuable for video content. And what this tool will do is give you about 300 questions in the space of 2 seconds. So again, if you're doing a property search, let's say it was interest rates, you put that into the keyword section of vidIQ, you're going to get about 300 questions that people are asking about interest rates. And then you just save it to a spreadsheet. So you've got 300 questions that you can pull up anytime. But what's even more valuable about this, it'll tell you how many people are asking that question online, how many people are searching for that a month. Then it will tell you what is the competition like, how many people have created videos or content around that particular subject. So you can actually sort it. So you see the lowest competition content ideas first, and you can start answering those questions. So you've got much better chance at showing up in a search engine like YouTube or Google because you're answering the questions that people are actually searching for online. I think that's the key. We can create content all day long. We can talk about all these different areas, but when we're actually talking about the topics people are searching, that's when we're likely to show up in the searches. So that's how we get the content ideas, and that's 2 options. And you've got your mate ChatGPT. So if you're ever, the only difference is when you use ChatGPT, you're not getting it from Google, you're not getting it from vidIQ, so you're not getting it from those sources that you know people are going to search. But again, ChatGPT can fire you a whole list of different content ideas at any time as well. Now, you don't want to just be educating and solving the market in all your content. You also want to bring in some of your values into marketing, some of your stories, some of your journey, so people connect with you on a human level. So what I would say is you'd probably have, let's say you've got 12 questions as an example. You'd want 4 of those questions, so 1/3 of the content that you're doing, to be about you, your journey, your values. It could be about you being a parent. I'm on, like, a great example that Cheryl's on school holidays right now. Hey, just taking a break from the office. I've been camping with the family. We have so much fun. That's a great piece of content. Why is that? Because other people that have families, that have kids, then connect with Cheryl and go, oh, Cheryl's like me. And then when the educational content comes in, and again, it could be about, say, the housing market, and you're solving their problems, answering their questions, then they see you as a subject matter expert. So have 1/3 of your content about the human side of you or the business and the brand journey, and then have the other 2/3 about the education, helping people and solving problems. You get the perfect balance of connecting as a human, but also creating yourself as that destination to solve the problems in the marketplace. So I'll let anyone put a question in at this point before we go to the next step, because there's probably a bit in there. So if you've got anything, you can either unmute or pop it in the chat. I'll see if there's anything shot through.
I just want to jump in there, Aaron, and you raised a really good point around using like Google or vidIQ, because you're really leveraging, here's the good word, algorithm, right? The search algorithm. Yes. That's the big word. It's the things that people are actually looking for, and hence that's why they turn up on those search engines, as opposed to ChatGPT, which ChatGPT is not so much driven by algorithms. Is that right?
Correct. So when you use a tool like vidIQ, you know that's what people are typing in. So if you title your video what people are typing in, then it's going to tell an algorithm, oh, if someone types that in, show this video. And then based on how your video retains the attention, will determine whether it stays in a high ranking or not. So what you're doing is the SEO game of content, but you also don't want to be in your head about hacking the algorithm. A lot of people I've seen get too obsessed with the idea of, oh, I really want my content to rank. And what they'll do is they'll start doing things like stacking the phrases into their videos. and it doesn't make great content. So my approach to it would be take a search that you've got from People Also Ask section on Google, vidIQ. Great way to open the video if someone's asked you that question is to open up with a version of that question, so you are helping with the algorithm. And then diving in and just having that conversational approach that we're going to talk about when you respond to that question, because that's when you're going to come across as yourself, which is what you want to portray in the marketplace, because then you attract a tribe that actually resonates with you versus a tribe that's maybe coming to you for other reasons, which is really important. Got a question here from Steve. What about answering questions my clients didn't even know they had? Things like, did you know paper has a print first side? So a great thing that you can do as well, and I just did this recently personally, is things like that. Or you can even go to your clients and go, okay, what were the questions or what were the things that you didn't know that you needed to know when you were reaching out to us? So yeah, what's your biggest fear? What's your biggest problem? So Cheryl actually participated in this. I put a post in a group that we're both in, and I said, hey, what is your biggest constraint or fear or problem when it comes to content creation? And we got some answers that I wouldn't have even thought of. For some people, it was what to say. For some people, it was the tech, just being overwhelmed about what setup do you need? What do you use to actually record the videos, all the way through to where do you post it and what time do you post it? So you get this mixed bag of responses that you might not even think of. And one of the best ways to get genuine ideas is also from your clients as well. So hopefully that contributes to your question there, Steve. And if you think of preempting a problem that they may have, absolutely put that in your content as well, because you never know what's going to resonate with someone as well. Jay's got a question here. How does the content differ on alternate platforms, Facebook, Insta, and YouTube? So what I'm going to say to everyone here, my advice, which is general advice, is start with short form content. And the reason why that's a great place to start, so I'm talking about reels and shorts, because you can take a reel that's sub 60 seconds and you can post it as a YouTube short, and you can put it on as a reel on Facebook and Instagram. And the reason why that content format specifically is the way to go at the moment is because it can get a lot of traction. So even if you don't have followers, even if you don't have an existing audience, you can get really quick traction in 24 hours with that style of content. And the other benefit of it is, if you're not positioned in a market yet, people will watch you for 20, 40 seconds, even if they don't know you. But are they going to sit through and watch a several-minute video of you when they don't know you? And plus, that video has to be so good for those several minutes that you hold their attention, which is really hard to do in this day and age where the average attention span is 8.25 seconds. So if you do reels and shorts, which is what we're focusing on here, you can put it on TikTok, you can put it on YouTube as a short, you can put it on Instagram and Facebook. So it covers all the boxes and it gives the content that the platforms want. So right now, that's what they're prizing, and we want to play to the landscape of the platforms and what they want to show their audiences. So we're ticking a lot of boxes. And I will add to that, also think about, when is your audience on these platforms? A lot of people go, when do I post the content? When's the best time? I say just use logic. When do you consume content? When are you there on your phone scrolling, watching videos? Usually a really good answer to that question. If you're in the property space, your clients are probably working. They're professionals during the day. So chances are the evenings are going to be a really good time to post content, because they're back home, they're relaxed, they're not getting inbound and distractions from their work. So I would say put your content out in the evening, and they've probably got the time and headspace to consume it. So there's a few bits and pieces there to consider. And it's also why the next step in this process works really well with that question that you just asked, Jay, which is really important. So is everyone happy with getting the content ideas? And then we'll move into the second step in the process. Just give me a thumbs up or a wave for those that have videos on. Excellent. And by the way, if you have any questions or something that's a little bit off track, you can always just send me a message after the session and ask me privately, or if it's more of a personal question, happy to answer that on social media, in a DM or whatever, however you want to contact me. So step 2, we've got all these content ideas. Now, we've already covered how I stumbled across the solution to this problem, but how do we set this up so we do it right? So right now we're on Google Meet. This is actually my favorite platform to do this. And the reason why I love Google Meet is because it saves all the recordings to Google Drive. So when you have a content asset go straight to a storage file that you can then share, it makes it very easy to get other people to do all the content repurposing for you. So what we do with our clients, and what I would recommend, is the person that's going to answer the questions is going to show up on their smartphone. So you'll show up on your smartphone and you'll do it on portrait mode. And the reason you'll do it in portrait mode is exactly for what Jay alluded to, which is creating the reels and shorts in the right format for social media. And by doing that, you'll get the best quality video and you'll be in the right frame from the outset. So you won't have to zoom, like when people change the aspects on the video like an editor, they're not going to be pulling your head in and dragging the frame out and doing those things. It'll actually sit in the perfect recording format that you want right from the outset, which makes it very, very easy on the other side. So all you need is a smartphone. Don't overcomplicate it. If you've got fancy tech, roll with it if you know what you're doing. And one of the biggest blocks I used to have was I need to have these elaborate setups. I need these microphones and recording equipment. I found that the content that I put out, that's me on a smartphone, occasionally I'll use a mic, that's probably a lesser quality in terms of the resolution, performs better than the much higher quality produced stuff. And the reason that I think that happens is a lot of people see really high quality produced video as advertising. And there's nothing wrong with really high quality producing videos if you can achieve that. But just think about it. Next time you're scrolling, just see how your mind perceives a video. And if it's really high quality produced, just see if it goes, oh, that's probably an ad. And then see if you see one that's less quality, how your brain, you might go, oh, that's authentic. That's a bit real. I like that. And that's worked for me. But there are also industries and places and brands that may need to lean into that quality more so than others. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. So if you've got a smartphone, you can do this model. And if you don't have a smartphone, you can get one from someone else to do this model. There's no excuses. So what you'll do is you've got all your questions saved to a spreadsheet. Like I said, you'll have 4 questions that are about you. It's a client that you might have helped, something that happened in the business, you're on school holidays with your kids, and you'll just talk about those personal topics. Then you'll dive into the 8 or so questions that you're going to add value to. So you've got a recording partner. So with our clients, we do this with them. You could do it with a colleague, with a friend, with a client, with someone else in the community here. And they come onto the session, have the conversation with you, and then you're on your smartphone. They could be just on their computer like I am right now. This is the way we do it. Hit record on the Google Meet session and just go in with the questions. Hey, so tell me about what happened with a client last week, and off you go. And it doesn't matter if you stuff up. It doesn't matter if you want to retake or re-answer the question. It doesn't matter if you want to waffle and go on for several minutes, because the next step in the process solves all that. And the goal is just to have a fun conversation, work your way through the 12 questions, and you can do more questions, you can do less questions, it's up to you. That's just how we generally approach it. And to answer each one until you're done. And Cheryl said, what about the hooks? Great input. So like I said, when someone asks you the question, the best way to lead into that is to repeat the question. So let's say we were targeting a question, what do the future of Australian interest rates look like? I'm just plucking one at the top of my head. So the way you might lead in to respond to that question. So my prediction for the way that interest rates are going to look in Australia is, and off you go. So you kind of repeat the question back in a way that's digestible. So I'll use another example in my lane. The question would be, what's one content creation tip for Instagram? So I would open up the video. One content creation tip for Instagram is, oh, in I go, and just start having the conversation with my person on the other end. The reason why it helps is you imagine it's almost like you're on FaceTime. So you're staring at the other person. You're not staring at the camera. You're not worried about scripts. You're not worried about teleprompters or anything like that. You're just talking to your friend on the other end. And you'll find that by about question 3 or 4, you're in the zone. You've relaxed into the process. You've got past the fact that you're recording. And the session, as I said, usually takes around 30 to 60 minutes and you're done. So that's how we get a conversational approach to answering the questions and getting the content, and that gets saved into Google Drive, which will go into the next step in the process. But before we go there, again, I'll pause for any questions. Does anyone have anything that they want to ask about that step in the process?
I've got a question there, Aaron. Say we're having this conversation and you're a bit of a waffler.
Yeah.
Right? And we're trying to create short form
Yeah.
videos. I'm a bit of a waffler, so this is self-confessed. How do you ensure that you still have hooks that are engaging? Because the hook's only at the very beginning of your waffle, which might be 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So how do you work around that?
Yeah. So if you're a waffler, waffle. So don't think I've got to be concise. Just do you. This is really, really important. I think the minute you start getting your head, I've got to be really succinct, I've got to get my point across really quickly, that's when you start to lose the authenticity. So I've got clients that are big wafflers. I'll ask them a question, it'll take 10 minutes to answer the question. They'll go on a tangent, they'll chase a squirrel up a drain pipe. But in that 10 minutes will be the gold that gets extracted. And that's all you need to know about this process. But we also have clients that are, bang, they'll say the response in 20 seconds. So they're very succinct, and then the content's 20 seconds long. So if you're a waffler, waffle. If you're direct, be direct. Just do you. So hopefully that answers that question. Don't overthink it. Does anyone else have a question before we go to the next step in the process? If we're all good, shoot to a thumbs up. I'll look at the chat for the next 10 seconds. Few thumbs up coming.
I do have a question just about the setup, Aaron.
Yeah. Yes.
You've got Google Meet, so you're talking to someone, but then you've got sort of your little camera as well. Is the camera, say you've got the computer facing this way, is the camera also facing you, or are you sort of on an angle, or how's the best sort of setup?
Yeah, so the client that is recording the session, so they're the one that we're getting content for, they literally just show up on their smartphone. So they'll, like you're doing right now, Cheryl, they'll join Google Meet on their smartphone, and it'd almost be like they're on FaceTime talking to me. So that's how we do the setup when we record. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So they're not separately recording on the side. They're just on the smartphone. But then, and how's the okay, so you're relying on the camera quality then. Okay.
Yeah, there is the option to record on the side. We have, like in our agency, we have 2 clients that they have their phone set up separately, and they record to their phone while on their computer with me on Google Meet. So it's a personal preference. But for the sake of simplicity, if you're just starting out, just try it this way in the beginning. You don't want to overcomplicate it. A couple of things to check to get the highest quality video is in Google Meet or whatever platform you're using. You can use Zoom and that. If you go into the settings, there's a video component, and it lets you choose the quality of the video. So make sure that you choose HD 1080p, PX, I think it is. So I'll just confirm that because I can check right now. So video, yes. So you want to choose full definition, 1080p. And if you have that as your receive resolution and send resolution, you'll get the highest quality video that you can stream in the session. So that's something that helps get the best possible video quality. The main thing that's going to dictate that is your smartphone. So if you've got a relatively new smartphone, you won't have to worry about the video quality. They're all amazing. Number 2 is your internet connection. If somehow you're out in an unstable connection, it's just like losing someone else when you're on a FaceTime or a chat. So whenever we set up for these sessions, we always say, make sure you're in a place where you know you've got good access to internet or Wi-Fi, because that is one of the variables that can influence the quality of the video. So does that answer the question? Awesome. All right. So we've got our content ideas in step 1. We've had a conversation and we've either waffled or we've been really direct with our responses in the part number 2. Now we've got this file that's stored on Google Drive. Where do we go from here? So there's a few different options, and I want to cover them just so I can cater to everyone that's at every level. So there is AI tools that can do repurposing. Now, the challenge with that is they just do whatever they want. So they'll cut clips for you, but they're not necessarily going to give you the clips that you were targeting. So if you're going for searches that are from people also ask, or they're from vidIQ, you might not necessarily get content that corresponds to what you actually want to answer. So some tools that can do this, you've got 𝐵𝐵𝐶lipp, you've got 𝐵𝐵𝐶munch. So if you give that your Google Drive recording, it's going to give you back a ton of videos, but they're going to be all over the place. And they're probably going to have the other person asking the questions cut into some of them. So there's a lot of after work that needs to be done. You'll have to go back, fix up the captions and edit the branding and change the video. So let's say you got 20 videos back, 4 or 5 might be usable off the outset, 15 might need a lot of extra work. So if you're bootstrapping and you don't have a budget, that can be an entry point though. So that allows people to get in the game who aren't that established in business yet. So I did want to mention those tools. Okay, so if we want to get the content that we're targeting, we need access to an editor, and we just need to send them the instructions. So what we do in our agency is we have the list of questions that we're targeting, and then we have our Google Drive link. So we get the link to the video that's stored in Google Drive. We send the list of questions to the editor. And what we say is we want to cut a clip that's sub 60 seconds to each of the questions that we're targeting in this interview. And then we'll give them the video resolution. So reels and shorts, they'll know what that is. So I think it's 1080 width by 920 height. Then we say, this is the branding that we want for the captions. So the reason why we want to put captions on our videos is if you go on social media right now, you'll notice that the videos start playing without sound. And I think that's in over 80%, unless you've already got your sound turned on for social media. So if we don't have captions, most people won't get hooked into the video because they won't know what you're talking about. And captions keep the screen moving, which actually helps with retention. So in this day and age, captions are almost a must for your video content. So it's very, very important. So to that editor, we'll say this is the font that we use on our website, in our branding, so they can keep it uniform for your business. These are our branding colors. So you can have the captions match your branding colors. So we'll give that to an editor on our team, and they'll go through and they'll just cut a clip to each of the questions that we were targeting and get it to sub 60 seconds. So if someone's waffled, they'll extract it down to what we're going for and cut out all the noise. If someone's messed up, they'll cut that bit out. If someone's going, you know, they cut all that out to make it nice and polished. And then they put the captions on the videos so they're ready to go for social media. So when you pass that over to an editor, you'll get all your clips back ready to go. Now, obviously, we provide that service. There are tools and resources like Upwork and so forth, where you can find people that can assist with those types of projects to do it for you. So the whole goal is you just have to show up and have your conversation, and everything else gets done in the background. So I'll pause there. Does anyone have any questions around that? And then I'll add another layer to it, which is how we get written content from the process. Does anyone have a question around that step?
Hey, Aaron, thanks for this. Just the tools you mentioned that would chop that video for you, that they're not particularly great. What were they again?
𝐵𝐵𝐶lipp.
Oh,
𝐵𝐵𝐶lipp. I'll put it in the chat for everyone. So
yeah.
You do 𝐵𝐵𝐶lipp, and I think the other one's called 𝐵𝐵𝐶munch.
Yeah.
So they can be fun to play around with too. So I think most of those tools give you like a free trial. So if you want to just put something in there and see what it gives you back, can be a fun little experiment. But yeah, you got, and there's lots of others as well. They're just the ones that I've played around with myself. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Anyone else got a question? Bruce, I think you were about to say something. You good? Yeah, no worries. Beautiful. All right. So that's how we get the video content done on brand, short form, ready to go for your social media platforms. How do we get written content? So again, we've got the link to our Google Drive recording. The tool that we use is called rev.com. And look, there are things that I think you can plug into Google Meet and all sorts of softwares that'll transcribe the conversation for you, but I'll just share with you the tools that we use. So we just share our Google Drive link of the recording of the conversation with rev.com, and within 5 minutes, it'll AI transcribe that into text with about 90% accuracy of the words that have come out of your mouth. So if you do that step, you've got your words, so original content that's in text format. You could then go to ChatGPT and say, proofread it. And then ChatGPT will give you a proofread version back in another couple of minutes. So then it's nice and polished. And then what you can do is have a content writer that can come in and, I guess, format and get a very well curated written post to each one of your questions. So if you want a human to come in and do that for you, which is always the option that I recommend because you've got really good quality control, and they can craft it out in the structure that you like. And then they want to add in usually between 1 and 5 hashtags for what you're targeting with that particular piece of content, just to help it to show up in the right place with people following those hashtags. The other thing you can do, if again you're bootstrapping, is you can prompt engineer ChatGPT. So you go, okay, ChatGPT, these are the questions that we're targeting. Here's the transcript that you've proofread. I want to get a post for each of the questions to go on Meta, so on Facebook and Instagram as an example. Here's an example of a post structure that I like. Can you please churn out a post for each of the 12 questions as an example, and just see what you get back from ChatGPT, and then you might just polish them up a little bit and do a little bit of work. But in a perfect world, what happens on our team is we have Shells. She comes in, she takes the transcripts, and she'll know exactly the structure of the post that our client likes and what they want to achieve. Are they looking to generate leads? Are they looking to build brand awareness? Are they looking to achieve another goal with the content? Is it all of the above? And we're able to format the written posts that align with that company's goals, and she can do it in a style that best aligns with that client. So we do the human side with a little bit of the AI doing the transcription and the proofreading in the background. So that's how we do it. And then we just pass it over to the business owner or the client. So does anyone have any questions about getting the written content for their business using this process? Rap.com. No, it is rev.com. for the transcript. So put that in the chat for you all. And it's a very, very fast process. And again, that's why I love Google Drive, because you literally just give it the link from Google Drive, and that's all you need to do. It does the rest for you. So yeah, Rev, that's it. Bruce, any more questions? Looking good. All right. And now you've got all this content. So you've got 30 days of content. You might have 12 videos, 12 written posts. What do you do with it now? So then it's what we've talked about a little bit. Where do you post it? When do you post it? And all those other variables. So again, think about the platform that has the attention of your target clients. So usually in the real estate space, I would say that Instagram and Facebook and YouTube are really good places to put your content, and even TikTok is another really good place. For someone that was in a business service or offered some sort of business solution, then you've got LinkedIn to throw into the mix. So you want to be posting and focusing primarily on the platforms that you enjoy, and you're happy to be on those platforms, but where are your clients? Because you can post it all over the place, but if you're trying to manage 5 or 6 platforms, that can be very challenging. And I've learned that lesson the hard way. I actually deleted I deleted Twitter. I actually deleted TikTok personally, even though there's utility for me to have it, because it was too many things to focus on and it was dividing my attention. So I was getting micro results in all these different places versus a big result by putting my energy into the platforms that have my target clients that I've already got relationships and networks on. So that was a big decision for me. So put it on those platforms. And again, think about those posting times. Now, all the platforms these days allow you to schedule for free. So whether it's LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you can schedule your content. So you can have someone on Cheryl's team come in and be your content manager, your marketing manager, that can come in and do all of this for you. So they would simply get access to your accounts. They would know, okay, the best time to post this content is in the evenings. Let's say it's 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. after everyone's had dinner, put the kids to bed, and they would schedule the post to go out at those times. Platforms like Meta also tell you what is the most active time for your audience. So if you go into the business suite, they've got a content planner, And you'll see the days and the times where your audience is most active on those platforms. So you can actually schedule to those times. So a lot of the guesswork gets taken out of the equation for you. So that's the posting. The next thing that we can talk about is monetization. So you've got content out there and you want to get clients from it. So what can we do? So one of the things that you can do is ask for engagement, which is really important. This is a very safe way to generate leads without being too salesy. So for example, if I'm talking about content creation and people's problems with content creation, when I'm signing off in the text of that post or in the captions of that post, I could have, hey, if you've got a question around this topic, put it in the comments below. Okay, and what people do is they self-select. They go, oh yeah, I've got a problem with this, or I need help with this. And then that way you can then start engaging them, helping them and supporting them, and then drive towards having a conversation and seeing if working with you is a fit. So that's a very non-salesy way to do it. Another thing you can do is put in a call to action for a lead magnet. So you might have some sort of free giveaway, a consultation, a tutorial, a demonstration, a guide, ebook, anything in that category. And when you're signing off your post, you say, PS, if you want to take this to the next level, what we say is we've got the 30 days in 90 minutes content creation system. Just put a 30 in the comments below and we'll send it over to you. So you can do things like that to generate direct leads on your content. Another thing that you can do to make sure that you get in front of your target clients is boost or sponsor the content. So a lot of people rely on organic reach, which is fine, but if you go to a platform like Meta, you can actually say, hey, I want this post to go to parents in their age 30 to 50 in Melbourne. And you can spend $5 and it'll show it to maybe 1,000, 2,000 parents in Melbourne aged between 30 and 50. So that way you're guaranteeing reaching the right audience at a very low cost. And you can do that with as little as I think $1 or $2 budget. So you can start very small and build up. So if you want to bypass just relying on organic results, then you can set a small budget and build it up over time and make sure that your content is going to your target audience, especially if you're solving a big problem for them in that video, something that's going to be front of mind, something that's topical, something that a lot of people are asking about. And the videos that you've got there or the posts that you've got there that might have hey, if you've got a question, put it in the comments below. That's where you can really get some traction in terms of getting inquiries, leads, and people reaching out when you do that strategy and put it on steroids. So that's one way that you can really accelerate what you're doing with content. So does anyone have questions around that? All good? Check the chat box. Excellent. Okay, so that in a nutshell is the content creation system. There's the 3 steps to recap. So we get our content ideas from the people also ask section. We can use a tool like vidIQ as well and get all the data and see what the competition looks like and get hundreds of results. And we've also got ChatGPT there as a backup. Step number 2 is we take those questions into a conversation with someone that we have rapport with. We show up on our smartphone on a platform like Google Meet, and we hit record, we go through, we answer those questions and record it. Step 3 is we repurpose. So we either bootstrapping and we go to AI to get some support with that. Or if we want to do quality control and really go after the right content, we get an editor, we send them the instructions with our branding, get them to cut the clips for us and send them back. And then we do the same thing with our text using rev.com to get our written content and have that ready to go for social media. And then we follow the steps to put it out on the right platform at the right time. So that's the process in summarization. So hopefully that made sense to everyone.
It's fantastic, Aaron. Thank you so much. I mean, it's very, very clear. Written content goes with video. That's a question from Steve.
So what we usually do is we have the written post. So with the shorts and the reels, if we're posting them for a client or if someone's posting, we'll say lead in with that hook. So you want to use that title in the captions, but we often won't use the same copy from the written post on the videos, but you can. So you can absolutely do that if you just want to have videos and that copy to go with the video, that's completely fine. It'll actually help the video do really well. We usually have a shorter caption on the videos because most people are just watching, they're not reading the text. And we'll use the text as separate posts. So we're getting additional content with visuals. So with photos, you might use 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐚𝐭𝐢𝐳, or you might have some professional photos, or you might take some photos. And that way we're catering to two different styles of content. Some people like to read posts, some people like to watch videos. So we're getting the best of both formats. So that's how we approach it. But by all means, you could absolutely put the written versions of the answers to the questions with the particular video as the text. So you've got a bit of flexibility there.
I've got a question about written content.
Yes.
What works now? Is it longer form content or short form content? I know it's funny because video, it's short form content.
Yeah. Well, it's the truth is there's bad content and good content. So if it's a good content and it's engaging content, the length is less important because it'll work. Generally speaking, if I've got a longer piece of content, I'll tend to have a bit of a narrative going with it to try and hold someone's attention so they keep reading it. So I might start off with the hook and a bit of a story. And that way people are like, oh, I'm curious about this. I want to hear how this ends or how this plays out. But I would say the majority of our posts are medium lengths that we create for clients. So they're not really long, but they're not super short either. But the goal is not to overdo it. It's just, okay, here's the problem that we're solving. Here's what, say, the hook. Here are the steps to solve the problem. And then signing off with asking for engagement. Usually, hey, if you've got a question, put it in the comments below. So that's the framework that we use. Content that will perform really well, generally speaking, are personal stories. If you can deliver them in a nice way. If I ever talk about my son or my family, they tend to go really, really well because it's very relatable to the average person. So that's why it's good to throw that in every now and again so people do connect with that human side. So to answer your question, that if it's good content, the length is less relevant, but we tend to keep it sort of medium length and try to follow the framework of, okay, here's the hook, here's how we overcome that problem, or here's how we produce that result, and then sign off with asking for engagement. So that's how we tend to structure the posts, and spaced out really well, so it's easy for the brain to process. So not really long paragraphs. We'll go with shorter sentences so that the brain can get through and read it nice and succinctly.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. Any other questions?
Yes, any questions?
And so, Aaron, in terms of anyone that wants to work with you, where can they get some information from as well? But also the next part, just to clarify, they do the video and the interviews with you, and you produce the video content and the written content. Do you do the posting on the various platforms as well?
So we create all the content for you. We do have an option for that, but generally speaking, Cheryl and her team can produce like content managers, marketing managers that can manage the whole process for you. What we don't do is manage the engagement and all that. So if you've got someone from Cheryl's team that can assist with that aspect, you've got someone that can actually hold the role and schedule the post for you, manage the engagement, stay on top of leads and opportunities. So that can be a really good way to maximize this strategy. But what we do is we do all the research for you. We get all the questions. We record the videos. We edit and produce all the videos. We get all the written posts and we handle all that for you. So you've essentially got 30 days of content every month from that conversation that we have. So I believe I had a custom link that I gave you, Cheryl, that if you want to explore that path, you can book in a time with me and have a chat, and you can tell me all about what you're doing, who your target clients are, and I can get a really good feel for your business. So I'm sure Cheryl can provide that for you, and if you want to book in and have a chat, we can start there. So that'd be great to meet some of you if you want to have that conversation.
Amazing. We'll just get you to pop your email in the chat as well, please, Aaron.
Yes, and also I'm pretty easy to find on social media because my surname's quite unique, Aaron Witnish. So if you want to find me, I'm pretty easy to find, and you can just send me a message on either LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. That's my email. So if you want to shoot me an email as well, just flick one through and we can go from there. So yeah, it's great to meet you all, and love to see all your content go out now that you know how to do it.
Thank you. So before we sort of wrap up, I just want to make sure that everyone here has got something from this, and I'm going to do a call out. What is the number one action that you're going to take today from this session? Pop it in the chat or unmute, whichever you like.
And if you didn't get anything too, that's great feedback for me.
Email Aaron. That's a good good action step.
Yeah, just so I'm always worried about what I look like, etc. But I like and planning content, so I like the idea of you just being interviewed, right? So forget about it. So I think that's a great idea.
Sorry, Jay, you keep going, mate. I was going
and I was just going to say, if we've chime in probably right at the end there, but obviously we can have a go at this ourselves. But if we do want to engage you for, say, 30 days of content, what's the rough cost? Yeah,
so we have a fixed weekly investment, 300 a week plus GST. So that isn't changing in the short term. So you can know that's the investment. We do a minimum 6-month term when we work with a client. So that just gives you some, I guess, costing to think about if it's a path you want to explore.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
No worries. And I was going to just say to everyone, this is kind of like how the content goes. So just like we're doing today, you're just showing up, just like I've had a chat with you. That's very much how the content gets created, just to give you a sense for, I guess, the ease of the process.
Bruce has his little hand up.
Yeah, I was going to instead of typing, I've made lots of notes. I guess the number one thing I got from today was the idea that you could do this in one go and then break it up and then schedule it. So I hadn't really, up till now, I thought that every time I wanted to create content, I've got to kind of almost do it live and then, get that all organized. But the idea that I could actually do this as an exercise and then generate, a number of videos, depending on, I need to think, you've given me some good questions, but the idea that I could actually do it as a batch and then spread it out, that was a great sort of thing for me to understand.
Yeah, it's a big time saver when you can just show up and know that it's done. I think that for everyone that's tried to create content, they've probably ran into that same bottleneck. It's like, I want to do it, I'm trying to do it on the go, on the fly, and other priorities take over and scream really loudly. So yeah, when we discovered this, which I said took us a long time, we kind of nipped always in the bud with this system, which is great.
Yeah, no, sit down, spend a couple of hours on it once a month, and then I've got a month's worth of content potentially or more. So yeah, great.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I really like that. Like I said, it becomes less of an overwhelming exercise, and you're doing it in a short time. But I like that if you've got it, like it's almost like an accountability partner. You're booking in a time with, whether it's Aaron or someone else, as opposed to yourself, because we tend to stick to promises when it's with someone else as opposed to ourselves, right? So you go, well, I've booked a 12 o'clock on Friday, but no, I'll move that around. I mean, how many times have we done that? I know I have. And so having that book time with someone else also ensures that it's done. You're less likely to move it. You've got someone else who's accountable, and then you're actually going to go through the paces of getting it done. And that's why I really like how Aaron's done it, and we've followed the same system as well, and it's worked really well.
Yeah, and like a great example of that is right after this session, like 2 o'clock, I've got an optometrist on the Central Coast, and we're doing their extraction. So by having it locked in the calendar, all right, show up, chat to Aaron, pretty friendly, and then it's done, set and forget. Also, I think Steve put a good point. Yeah, creating the spreadsheet with questions to answer is really good. So you only have to do the research process, once in a little while, and you can get all your content ideas, have them sitting to the side, and they're on demand anytime you want to pull one out.
Extraction sounds painful. Matt, you've been through some extraction sessions.
It does sound, that word sounds painful, doesn't it? And the funny thing is, like, to give you, to put a bit of truth on it, usually the first time that you show up to do an extraction, for lack of a better word, there is a bit of nerves, there is a bit of resistance in the first time you go through it, because you haven't seen the end result. And you'll go, oh, this was terrible, I was so bad, it was awful, they're not going to get anything from the session. And then you'll get the content back, you go, oh, that was awesome. And then you'll the second time you'll be like a pro, you'll rock up all confident and like, I've got this. So yeah, that's usually how it plays out.
Thank you so much, Aaron. I know you've got about a minute to go before your next extraction session, so we're going to let
that too. But so yeah, I've got a bit of gap between them. So
awesome. Well, Aaron's got his email there. We will send a recording of this, and then it will have a link to Aaron's booking. We also have a recording which Aaron has done specifically for any of our clients at the Growth Hub. Again, it's a really good collaboration between what Aaron and his team do, and also if you've got a marketing assistant or a marketing champion who can help to put out the content as well, incredibly great to have these two running at the same time. It's what we do to be able to deliver content on a daily basis. Believe me, I'm not sitting there editing and typing in things and pressing the hit the reel button. I'm out camping. so I hope you all found that valuable. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you, Aaron. It's been an absolute pleasure. A lot of really, really good tips there. Like I said, you can literally follow the process that Aaron has taken you through. If you want to slow down that recording and take down notes, you could literally follow that and do it yourself. Or you've got Aaron, who is really, really good at facilitating this as well. So highly recommend at least do something.
Yeah, there's one thing people always ask. I go on podcasts a lot as a guest. What's the one thing that you would say to the listeners? It's like, start posting content. Because you can sit here and talk about it all day, but until you actually get in on the field and start doing it, nothing happens. So do that first video, even if you're not using the system, put it out there, because they get better as you go. And the first ones are always not as good as the future ones, because it's a new skill, it's something new. But just get started and do it. People will actually respect and appreciate the vulnerability, especially if you go, hey, look, I haven't done video before. This one's probably going to suck. Do you have any questions you want to ask about XYZ topic? I promise the videos are going to get better in the future. Put them below. Thanks so much. Just do something like that to get started, and then you've got the hard one out the way.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to everyone's content. Jay, Steve, Matt, we've got Bruce, we've got a whole list of everyone here, and we're going to be there cheering you on. Right? Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you again. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.